What is up, everyone? This is the Nep Queen, and we're gonna be doing something a little different in this video. So, some of you guys have been asking me, are you going to do the Neptunia Thanksgiving Nepu Die poll, whatever the heck this is called? This new poll, basically, where the fans have to answer a couple of questions based on what characters that they feel fits the criteria of the question. And they're gonna take probably the majority role and put it into some sort of Thanksgiving project. I actually don't really know a lot about this, but a lot of people were wondering, am I going to answer this question poll? And I was thinking about it because one of the questions I actually don't want to answer at all, and I will say which one, but I wasn't sure. But a lot of you were saying you just have to answer the ones that you want to, and it doesn't matter. I just didn't know if you had to answer all of them. So we're gonna be answering questions here, and I thought this might be a good video for some content, and also maybe you get to hear my opinions of the characters in a little bit more detail, depending on which one I choose. Now, a lot of my opinions are going to be kind of biased, just letting you guys know. I mean, as much as I would love to choose characters that deserve more attention, I feel like I have to be honest on these questions. So you're probably not going to be surprised by some of my answers. Maybe you will be surprised by some of them. I don't know. We're going to have to just look and see what we're going to answer for these questions. So yeah, this is just going to be a video of me answering this questionnaire poll. And since the date ends on March 31st, I figured I'm running out of time. It's the 27th as I'm recording this, so if I'm going to do it, I got to do it now. So, all right, let's answer these questions. Okay, so question number 1, what character do you want to Nepu? This is the question that I'm going to be ignoring, because if that term means what I think it means, I don't really feel that way towards any of the characters, or any fictional character in general, for that matter. I'm not saying anyone is wrong or bad for answering this question, it's just not for me. This was the one that I was very iffy about, because there is actually like a little translation thing here where it says what these questions mean specifically. And yeah, number 1's not changing. So I'm assuming that they're leaving it to our imagination. And given the kind of demographic that this game is aiming for, I'm gonna admit that it is that, and I am not going to comply with that. Okay, moving on. Next question, number 2. What character do you want to be friends with? Okay, we're gonna go over to the voting poll. And as you can see, we have a lot of suggestions here. The typical suggestions of everyone here. And why the hell are you two here? Why would anyone want to vote for these two? Seriously. Okay, whatever. I don't even know who these two are either, so I haven't played all of the game. But okay, which character do you want to be friends with? If you want my honest opinion, and I'm pretty sure I am not alone on this, I think the one character that really needs a friend is, of course, Miss Lonely herself, Noir. Now, I'm saying this as someone who self-inserts herself into the series. I would literally just want to be a genuine friend to Noir. Noir does not exactly have very good company in this game, and I know the reason. The main reason that she's constantly belittled by everybody else around her is because they're doing it for fan service. They want her tsundere side to come out so people can be like, oh my god, yes, she's a tsundere. But I honestly find this kind of distasteful, and if I put myself in Noir's shoes, if I'm given that sort of treatment by maybe not everyone around me, but by a majority of who's around me, I think my self-esteem would go pretty low, especially with her hobbies, people making fun of her hobbies of cosplaying and doing all these things. And she also has a lot of pressure being a CPU, so she feels like she has to be above everybody. So she puts on this fake, well, it's not a fake act, but it's all an act. You can tell that she truly doesn't really feel this way from lots of different perspectives, but she's trying very hard to be headstrong. She's trying to do her job as a CPU. Unfortunately, this kind of creates a communication barrier, making her seem the least approachable. So people think that she's intimidating. They think that she's snobby, so they kind of avoid her. But in reality, she just has communication issues, and I think that she needs a friend that will just talk to her, be there if she needs to complain about life. We all need a friend in our life that just wants to, listen, because I'm sure being a CPU is hard work. And although we've got Neptune being super optimistic, She's not very nice to Noir, which is why I don't really ship them. I understand that the whole opposites attract thing can go, but honestly, I just think what Neptune's doing to Noir is just, it's honestly mean. It's not nice, and every single time that she mocks Noir, calls her lonely, I just want to flick her on the forehead. That ain't it, Chief. I think that Noir just needs a genuine friend. So I'm gonna go down here. So handle name, so I'm just gonna say my name. I could probably make a video, like maybe a short video on why I think that Noir is probably one of the most mentally damaged characters in the series. Because again, looking from her perspective, she goes through a lot, and I just feel bad for her. So I just want to be a friend to her. I want to talk to her when she needs it. I want to just, you know, be that shoulder to cry on if she needs to complain about something or if things are getting to be too much for her. She doesn't have a lot of people like that in her life, other than maybe her sister, but her sister's not exactly good company either because she just looks up to her constantly, and that's just gonna put even more pressure on Noir. Then again, Noir's first introduction is that she wants Uni to kind of see her as a bit of a higher person, but because of that, their bond isn't exactly the best. It's not bad, but it needs work. This doesn't really make sense. I'm trying to make as much sense of this as I possibly can, but she just needs a friend. She needs someone who can just, you know, someone she can count on to go to if she needs to talk about something without worrying. Okay, I think that that's good enough. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at this. And I'm going to submit that, yes. Thank you for voting. Okay, let's go back. So we answered number 2, now number 3. What character do you want to be your sister? This is a tough one because, as you all know, I personify myself as the older sibling of both Neptune and Nepgear, but unfortunately, I think you can only choose one of them. So in terms of, I am going to put these two for some of the questions because I actually looked at these questions beforehand, so I knew what I was going to answer, so I wouldn't take forever deciding. So for this question, in terms of who do you want to be your sister? Probably Nepgear. I understand Neptune is probably more mature than Nepgear, but I feel like Nepgear is definitely more little sister material. I mean, she can't do anything by herself. She always needs somebody to guide her. And honestly, I kind of relate. Even as an adult, there are still some things that I'm not sure are the right thing for doing. So I feel her, but yeah, she's definitely more of a little sister for this question than Neptune, and I do see both of them as my siblings. So I think she also likes to be spoiled and pampered by Neptune, even though, well, the thing is, Neptune does do this, but there are also times Neptune isn't really a good sister to her. So I want to be the parts of Neptune that aren't good and be the good, better parts of being an older sister. I mean, Neptune's honestly just a big kid herself, so it's kind of hard for her to be a legitimate older sister, so I don't really blame her. I just wish that she wouldn't go a little too hard on Nepgear sometimes. I think I'm gonna go with that. I know that probably doesn't sound the best, but again, I'm trying to be as fast as I possibly can. I don't want this video to be an hour long. Okay, so that's that question. What character do you think is the true hero? This is another difficult one. Let me look at the translation for this one. Which character do you think is the true protagonist? See, this is a better way of putting it. I understand that this is a translation thing. They do put it fairly well, but I still think this is a better way of saying it. So it's essentially asking probably, what character do you think is the best protagonist? And in my opinion, what a protagonist is, this is the kind of protagonist that I prefer. Somebody who starts off weak at first, or rather someone who stands off small at first, and then grows into a better individual. Like, they have character development. And as much as I love Neptune, she doesn't really have this until maybe the 4th game. She is developed better in the 4th game, but for the rest of the games, I feel like as a protagonist, she's just a gag character. She's just mocking the idea of a protagonist. She's like, oh, I'm the protagonist, I have plot armor. Basically, that's her character, and I find protagonists like that not as interesting as the kind that I prefer. So, in my opinion, if I'm going to choose what character I think is the better protagonist, so there's only 3 protagonists in the actually, no, there's not. There's 5 protagonists in the Neptunia series. Neptune, Noir, Blonde, both of them from their respective games, Netgear for the second main line, and IF for another spin-off. In my opinion, Netgear is the best protagonist because she starts off weak and insecure at first, but then she grows as she progresses in the story, which in my opinion makes an interesting protagonist. I'm not saying that's the best protagonist, period. Like, nothing I say is fact here. This is just my opinion. I think a well-written protagonist, needs to start off smaller than they are and then grow into a better individual. It makes you like them more. Okay, that's my opinion in terms of a protagonist being a protagonist. Because, yeah, Neptune is the protagonist, but she's kind of a gag character that mocks a protagonist. So, she's not a good protagonist to me. I love her, but she's not a good protagonist. She's just there to fill the protagonist role just because she's there. Like, she can grow. I mean, she does grow a little bit. Like, I feel like Neptune grew more as a protagonist in the game before the Rebirth Saga. The first game, she kind of did grow as a character. She wasn't just there to make fun of the protagonist role. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. I think that a good protagonist should be someone who gets actual development. And that's just my opinion. I'm not hating on her being the protagonist. I'm just saying that out of all of them, she might be one of the weakest protagonists that I've ever seen in any series because she's just mocking the trope. She's not really filling a role of a protagonist. Okay, anyway, moving on. Next question. What character do you think is a true enemy? Let me see what it translates. Which character do you think is the true enemy? Okay, it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, so I'm not really sure if this means which character pissed you off the most or which character do you think had the best writing as a villain? Because that's how I see this question. I kind of want to see it as what character do you think was the best villain, which is easy for me because, in my opinion, a lot of the villains in Neptunia, they're not good. They're not good written villains. Like, R4, once again, similar to Neptune being the protagonist role, she just fills the villain role, and then she ends up having a bunch of different showings as the typical villain that shows up. She's basically like the Team Rocket of Neptunia, so as a villain, she bores me. These four aren't exactly the best written either. Magic the Hard might be the best out of the 4. She's not exactly she's definitely the most intimidating in terms of just being a typical villain. So she's probably the best out of the 4, but that doesn't mean that she's a good villain specifically. Trick the Heart is just written in poor taste. He's basically the pedophile, and yes, that can piss off people, me included, but again, he's a villain written in very poor taste, so therefore I think that he's also a bad villain. Judge the Heart is just a guy that screams constantly, so he's not really a villain. He's just some guy who thinks screaming gets him everywhere. That's my opinion of him anyway. Brave the Heart is not really a villain to me. I feel like he's one of those characters that joins the villain group for a good cause, and I can't hate him. So he's not even a villain, so I don't know why he's here. He was never a villain to me at all. Once again, Linda, bottom end, underling, whatever you want to call her, she's not a good villain either. She's like R4 but worse. She's basically a worse version of R4, so again, boring villain. Warichu, just the mascot. Just an evil little mascot, simps for compa. He's not really a villain, he's annoying. He's like the Team Rocket version of Meowth, just again, worse. Ray is not very good either. I feel like as a villain, they kind of did a little too much with her. They kind of went more the route of being a crazy character with a soft personality. This can work, but it didn't really work here. Seven Sages, this guy, he's basically one of those guys that started off bad at first, but ended up doing the right thing in the end. And Anonadeth, one of the best characters, maybe not as a villain, but as just a character. He's really funny. I enjoy him, but I don't see him as a villain either because he also redeems himself. Abness is just an annoying little brat that I want to kick out a window. She just pisses me off, so not a good villain, just an annoying character. Copy paste, another kind of brave case. He's joined the... I kind of don't remember, but I do remember that I liked him. He's funny, and he's basically like Judge the Heart and Brave the Heart merged together to make this. He's just a guy that screams constantly, but he does it in a positive way, so I like him. He's fine. Steamax, not a villain, just an awkward teenager who doesn't know how to interact with women. Afimojas, also boring villain. He's just a money-hungry guy, not exactly villain material. I'm gonna describe these four in words, so... Okay. You're annoying, you're a psychopath, you're a control freak, and you are a simp. Not good villains. Not boring, but not good either, so... You four suck. And I have no idea who these three are, so I'm gonna ignore them. I'm going to go for other here, because in my opinion, the best written villain in this game, and I'm not saying this because I'm biased to the fourth game being my favorite. I think Kurome was the best written villain. There are two villains that I like. Two kinds of villain tropes that I like. That one that is just so evil that you just hate them. You just hate them because of what they do. Not because of how they act, not because of their stupid pattern of behavior. Like someone who does something so atrocious that you just hate them. That's a good villain to me. But another is a villain who might also be the good guy. And Kurome is essentially the dark side of Uzume. And you come to love Uzume as a character in V2, so it's a shock that you find out the big bad behind all of the badness of V2 is actually Uzume, the character that you've come to love so much. And yes, she also has a very compelling and understanding backstory. I'm not saying that Rei doesn't, but I feel like she was Rei done better in terms of a backstory. And her motive was okay too. I just think that Kurome was the best written villain in all of Neptunia because it took on a trope of a villain that they never tried before, and it worked very well. So let me just write that down really quickly. Can't spell villain to save my life. Also, all the dreams that she gave the CPUs and the fact that she also almost made all of them kill their little sisters. That's pretty evil, and we need more of that in terms of a villain, please. At least in my opinion. But I would also like to see Kurome if she ended up being good. Like, I see some fan art of her and Uzume together. Okay, did I spell her name right? But yeah. I think that Kurome is definitely the best villain in all of Neptunia. The best written, anyway. And I appreciate good writing. So, Kurome, best villain. I hope they understand. I hope they can understand this. I hope that they translate it properly. So that was that question. Moving on. What character do you fall in love with? Again, awkwardly put, let's see what this says. It says, which character's way of life do you admire? This is another easy one, because when I first got into the Neptunia series, I loved Neptune's attitude. Although she may have been she wasn't the best protagonist, but she was a good character, and at the time when I got into the series, I was a teenager, I was going through a lot of dark times. So, her way of life and her motives and her way of going about things, I was like, you know what? I like this. This is probably a way that I would want to live. Maybe not to the extreme of when she slacks off, but, you know, just because I like how positive she is. She's probably a good role model in terms of her personality. As long as you don't go by the bad parts of her personality. But yeah, no, Neptune is just... She honestly is the reason I got into this series. So I owe it to her for being such an optimistic little ball of hilarity and she's just a fun character. If I were to fall in love with a character, not in a romantic way, but in a way that's just like, I love this character, it's definitely Neptune. So, yep. That was an easy one. Next one. Which character would you like to eat their homemade food? So basically, what character's cooking do you want to eat? Yeah, this is another one that's gonna be kind of tricky because there are multiple mentions of characters cooking food, but the only two that I remember vaguely are Kampa, who obviously makes all of the dishes, Uzume, who probably cooks for herself since she's a survivor, and Sisha, because I'm pretty sure she cooks all her own meals because she's a glutton. This is a tough one because in terms of... I don't really remember Uzume's way of cooking well enough to say that she's probably my option. Kampo probably bakes really good food, specifically dessert. Baking, same. I love baking. I honestly prefer baking over cooking in terms of making food. I'm gonna go for Sisha on this one because she loves to... She probably makes really good barbecue, and I'm actually not a fan of barbecue, but I think that's because I've never had good barbecue before. I am a carnivore. I love to eat meat, so I would love to try Sisha's idea of meat. She probably makes really good meat. Really good meat dishes, brisket, steak. She probably makes really good food, so I'm gonna go with her. She's also my favorite from Gold Third, so again, a little bit of a biased opinion, but I don't know. Every single time she mentions food and wanting to go and eat, she actually makes me hungry. So it's like, I want to go with you. Let's go and eat food. You know, you just want to go all out in a restaurant or maybe go all out with making a bunch of delicious meat. I can't cook actual food. I'm more of a baker, but I would love to try a meat dish made by Sisha. The only meat that I don't eat, fish. I don't like fish. So don't worry, Umio. You're safe. I won't eat you. I'm sorry. I had to mention that. Okay. What character do you want to rely on or spoil? What does this say? Question A. Which character do you want to depend on? Once again, Neptune. Neptune is a character that you can depend on both as a hero and as somebody who can just bring positivity into your life. As an adult, young adults go through a lot of struggles, and we're probably going to be sad or depressed, depending on what exactly we go through, but I feel like Neptune is just a very bright and positive character. I feel like you can depend on her if you need to ask an opinion about something, and she'll just be like, screw the rules, I'm the protagonist. It's like, it's just, she's so easygoing that it just makes her just likable, and you just want to depend on her and count on her, and also spoil her. If it says what character do you want to spoil, I want to spoil Neptune rotten. She seems so easy to spoil. Just make her pudding, she's instantly your lapdog. Okay, that was the worst way to put it. But she's essentially gonna love you if you make her a pudding dish, or if you spoil her, you continue to praise her. She's just a very positive character, and I think she's probably the character that I would want to depend on as an individual and as a hero too. So I'll go with that. I kind of spoil Neptune anyway in general. When it comes to games, I usually I treat her like the starter Pokemon in a party and just make her like the highest level out of everyone. I already spoil her. What character do you want to support? I'm gonna just say it. I'm gonna say it right now. Gold Third needs to come back. They were actually really good Maker characters. I think they were better written than any of the other Maker characters, other than IF and Compa, of course, but other Maker characters be damned. This is more like it. You've got 4 characters. They actually have a point in the story. They're actually antagonists in the story at first, and then they become allies. They each have a compelling relationship with the CPU that they're with. You've got Bisha, who looks up to Neptune, probably as her hero because she helped her get over her fear. You have Sisha, who kind of has a more... I think that her and Blonde have a really cute bond. I love that she's so easygoing, and she doesn't care for Blonde's rejection of her. She's just like, you know what? The two of us, we're gonna be friends. We're gonna be a pair together. And she also probably is a really good familial figure to Ram and Ram, so I think that they have a very cute familial bond, which is perfect for Louis. Then you got Keisha, who likes Noir a little bit too much. Not saying that's a bad thing, but it's not exactly a very good first friend to have, especially if she tries to kill your sister because she steals your attention from her. She has a lot of issues that she needs to work out, and hopefully she does. And then there's Esha, who doesn't exactly have a good relationship with Vert, but Isha likes her, so that's enough to probably earn Esha's respect at least. But in terms of that, I think that all of Gold Third needs to come back. I want to give them all the support I can. I want to see them again. I miss them. They were great. So let's see. Bisha, I'm probably gonna go for Seashaw again because she's my favorite. What the hell? I'll just go for Seashaw again. Even if they made a cameo in the anime, I'd be happy. If they just appeared for a few minutes like Mages did, I would just lose my mind. I love Gold Third so much. There's my opinion on that. Hopefully they understand that. It's not just Seashaw. She's my favorite, but I want all of Gold Third to come back or at least make a cameo appearance in one of the animes. And finally, what about the Nepui combination? Now, this is a weird one. It's essentially asking, what is a Nep combination? You can select 2 characters. What Nep combination do you want to see? So I'm assuming that means, what 2 characters do you want to see perform a skill together or have an actual, like, couple skill or something? Okay, this is a tough one. This one I actually don't know. I mean, I would personally like to see Plutia and Pishi have one because they're both from the same game. That would be kind of interesting if they had a duo skill. But another candidate, I kind of want Uzume to have more duo skills with others. I don't remember if she even... does she have a duo skill with Neptune or Nepgear? I don't remember. She probably does, but I think that Uzume definitely needs more attention. You know what? Just for fun, I'm gonna go with Uzume and Umio because I feel like if these 2 had a couple skill, it would be funny. Plus, these 2, I'm sorry, they are so wholesome. I love the kind of dynamic that they have with each other. Umio is a weird-ass character, but then when you find out more about Uzume's backstory and the fact that he was a man that helped her before she went dark, I think that that's really, really sweet, and I think that these 2 kind of deserve something with each other. I mean, the fact that they made him a DLC character, I don't know. I feel like it's a little weird. I thought that he should have been an actual fighter character in the actual game. So that way these 2 could have a little bit more, you know, chemistry with each other. Okay, that's weird to say, but, you know, all the memes of her wanting to eat Umio, Okay, I'm just gonna flat out say it. I do ship Umio and Uzume, but I prefer if Umio were human because it's weird if he's a fish. I thought it was really cute. Like when they showed the flashback of those 2, I was right along with everyone. They were like wondering, is he a love interest? Why does he sound like Umio? Like they were all questioning it. And I was like, I'm right there with you guys. I'm same. I feel the same. Let's get some more on that. And with that, I have answered all the questions that I could. I'm still not gonna answer number 1, but that's about it. That's about it for this video. I answered all the questions I could. I hope that I was able to, you know, put in a little bit of my insight on the game as a whole in this series, because I do have a lot of opinions about these games as well as the characters of them. So I hope this was a fun video. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you go and vote yourself. I will put a link in the description below if you have not voted yet. And I'm just saying, don't be ashamed to answer number 1. I'm not saying that anyone's bad for answering number 1. It's just not for me, that's all. Anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!